Okay, everyone. Now I'm going to have a conversation with Michael Owen from michael.co.uk, always wear red, and 50odd.co.uk. And we're just going to have a really free-flowing, random conversation about pivoting, like when, how, and why to pivot. So, hello, Michael.
Hello. And what pivoting is, because it's one of those funny words. I think some people don't talk about it because they're afraid of going, I'm not really sure what it means.
Yeah.
So we're recording now. We haven't got a little light on. Have you got a little light on?
Yeah, no, we're recording. You're live, So I was going to say, please do not swear, but you swear as much as you like. That's just we're adults, and I think there'll be mostly adults watching this. So
We've actually never ever sworn though in our whole
we usually just
relationship.
Swear in silence through text message.
We do actually.
There's some pretty obscene made up words in there as well, I think. But
yeah, there is.
So, yeah,
there is.
Do you know what? So the theme of day 5 of startup is keep going or pivot.
Yes.
So do you know what I mean by that? I mean, to me it's obvious, but it might not be obvious to you or other people what that means.
The way I interpret the idea is basically just the evolution of a human being in the context of the business that they do or the way that they earn money. And I say that because this is about Newcastle Startup Week, online in capitals.
I know, yeah, a very imaginative title, but make it a point of capital letters.
No, that's it. But no, to answer your question, for me, it's just evolution. Certainly in my career as running business has been the thing, that and resilience, creativity and flexibility. So resilience, creativity and flexibility. That, I suppose, the flexibility bit for me is the evolutionary bit, which is the pivoting bit. If you want to call it pivoting, that's fine. Yeah. Unless I've missed something. I mean, what do you mean by pivoting?
Yeah, no, I mean, it is a bit jargonous. I mean, it's probably last 5 years. That's probably around about 5 years when I first started reading about it. I mean, it is an Americanized sort of term that tends to be used in the sort of tech startup sort of world. But I mean, it comes from basketball. Basketball, when you pivot in basketball, you have to have one foot on the ground, and then you pivot. So you can move, you can change direction. But if you find that the way forward is blocked, you change direction and go a different way. So it does tend to get used in those terms for startups, like lean startup principles, which is all about you have an idea, you do small little iterations, little experiments, you test them out, see if it works. If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't, kill it off, like stop. Don't waste time and effort or money on things that no one wants.
I mean, I have to say, it doesn't sound new to me. I don't mean that in a disrespectful to you or anyone. It's just business to me.
It's not new. It's just like anything. It's shorthand for something. But yeah, the whole keep going or pivot. It is. It's like sometimes people just keep persevering with things that just aren't working. And I think in the current situation we're now, obviously with the lockdown, the businesses that are able to adapt and try a new approach are the ones that are going to survive through this, and the ones that just can't adapt and they're stuck in a certain way of working, they're the ones that are going to fail or have failed.
I mean, I see it as a mindset thing more than anything, because back in 2008, which was probably the third recession I've worked through, for me, recessions come and go and they always will. So, well, not for me, they do, don't they? So I think the only principle I have plugged into every time something like this has happened is to not hold my breath or not kind of wait for the storm to pass. Yeah. For me, that's the worst thing to do. Yeah. It's reacting to what's happening.
Yeah.
Now.
Some people are doing that. I think some people are. I did another interview with Andrew Essen, and he talks about this, about when he's been in situations where the company's coping with a crisis or some major disruption, and he's seeing that now with some of the companies he's working with. Some companies are literally just waiting for things to get better.
What does that mean?
Well, how long they're going to wait? Do you know what I mean? And
because I mean, it's an imprecise thing as well. Waiting for things to get better. What does get better mean, and what things?
exactly.
I mean, again, in my most grumpy, which I spend about X% of my time in, I don't know what that means. It's imprecise and it's irresponsible. I'm not having to go at anyone. I'm just saying sometimes it could be perceived as irresponsible because it's just no response. No response is not a strategy.
Yeah. And even even this, like doing this start of week online, a couple of letters, that is a bit of a pivot. It's I wasn't planning on doing it online. Obviously, I was planning on doing the physical event, the 5-day event that we've done. This would have been the 4th year of doing it. I was wanting to do more things online, and I've been wanting to do that for a while now. But you get into not a habit, but you get used to doing things a certain way, and it works, and you can make money from doing that, but the whole lockdown's forced me to do things in a bit sooner or in a different way of doing it, and actually it's opened up opportunities in ways that I didn't think would happen, but definitely the last month, like a lot of people, it's been taking a bit of a step back and trying to steady the ship and stop money going out and bring some new money coming in, and take a bit of time to get my head around how I was going to do it. And then once I was clear on what I was going to do, going full on with the new strategy. So I guess that is a pivot. It's about taking that time to stop and think. And
I'm with you. I mean, I think for what it's worth, it sounds to me like the way you've structured your 5 days and the juxtaposition of those days is fine. Well, it's great. It works. It works for me. My point, I suppose, is the word, pivoting. If this is what we're talking about, it was ever so. It was just reacting to the circumstances, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because this lockdown period, how many weeks is it now? 6 or 7 or 8 or something? 10.
I've lost count. Yeah.
Okay, it's I don't know how many it is. It's the best thing that's happened to me in terms of sensible, considered change in business. It really is. And the thing I've learned is that I fucking knew this years ago, because one time when we were in a massive, this is so significant actually in the context of what we're talking about. I hadn't thought of it in this way, but I'll just mention it. In 2008, I had a team of maybe 15. And one Friday, I said, look, we're so busy and it's such a mess, and we don't know exactly what we should do next, that I've decided what we're going to do. We're going to do nothing. Everyone turn everything off. We're going to go to the pub. Mm-hmm. And I've not thought about that before, actually, till this conversation had prompted it. So we went to the pub and we said, what are we going to do? What the fuck are we going to, what we're going to do? And it led to the 2 other shareholders. I was a 90% shareholder at the time. I had 2 5% shareholders who, they did something which they'd never done before, which was in the 8 years of the business, because we were 8 years old at that time. They said, look, just fucking go home and we'll have a think about what to do. Mm. After that, there were a number of changes that came. But my point is, the only way we could work out the best something to do was to do absolutely nothing, just stop everything. Mm-hmm. And the principle, because my background's furniture design and interior design and that kind of thing, the principle, if I think back, applied there as well. Because if you're trying to work out what goes into a room, you have to empty the room out first. You can't, you end up shuffling things around. I've moved offices a dozen times, and every time I have to empty the room. All the shit that's going in is over there, and the room is here. And I kind of have to work out where things are going to go. So for me, the principle, as I'm rambling now, transfers in ever such a lot of different things. To actually stop is such an important thing to do. Sounds obvious, I suppose, before you work out what to do next.
Yeah, but you don't. People don't stop though, do they? Because
no,
it's very easy to just fill your whole day doing stuff that might or might not be useful.
Absolutely.
And I know you've written quite a lot about this, and you use the phrase like permission to pause and stuff like that. I think it is really important, especially when you're talking about creativity as well. I mean, I've always been quite creative, but I feel like I'm in a very creative phase right now.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm giving myself time and space to think and open myself up to to things that I maybe haven't before, like rediscovering all things that I'm into, and then trying new things as well, which is, you know, the whole start something new. And but it's but yeah, that we talked before as well, going to the pub. We don't really go to the pub anymore because it's not seen as like appropriate or politically correct or whatever. But if you I've got a good book, I can't remember what it's called, but it's written by the guy that's considered the original Mad Men, you know, in the advertising, Madison Avenue.
Okay, so that's George Lois, Lois.
Yeah, I think so. And
Yeah.
a lot of their great ideas came from when they went to the pub and just got pissed.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting. Yeah, I'm with you. There's a book over there called Damn Good Advice by George Lois, which is all right. You know, some of it's good, some of it's not so good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But on the thing about going to the pub or pausing, when I have time to think about, because I work as a consultant type bloke, even though I don't like the word consultant really. I help people. I just wanted to mention, because you made me think of it with talking about what actually happens in the space created, which is what you made me think, you know, with this pausing, going to the pub, having a shower, riding on your bike. This is all space that we create. The one thing which I would say universally, people like you should be better at is setting the goals more clearly and bigger. And I mean that as a compliment, actually, because, you know, when you and I chat sometimes, it's really interesting because we get noisy and feisty sometimes, and then sometimes we get strategic, and sometimes we get into the detail, tactical. But the point is, I just wanted to make is, most people that I know are not setting their goals high enough, anywhere near. They don't want to change the world, and they should.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to mention that, because in the space that we create, I think sometimes people are embarrassed about their own potential, and that sounds really weird.
Yeah.
And I do include you in that, and weirdly, that is a compliment, you know.
Yeah.
I think that we should all set our goals much higher, and that's, in my opinion, if part of this conversation is, you know, well, if we do create space, what should we do in that space before we pivot?
Yeah.
Be clear about the goal, and then I think once you've set the goal, redouble it, treble it, make it massive, absolutely enormous, and then go for that.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, because
I don't know if I'm right, but it's just what I think.
No, I think it's important. Definitely. I mean, that's what we've talked a lot about. This is like end of last year, beginning of this year, I wanted to try and set bigger goals and aims for what I was doing. So that's why I was speaking to a few different people about that and setting quite ambitious targets, which sound ridiculous from where I am now, but actually they're not. Like actually,
if something sounds ridiculous, you have to consider who it sounds ridiculous to. And I think I suggest, and this, honestly, this is universal. The only person to consider is you or me. I don't care what anybody thinks about how ridiculous anything I set as a goal sounds. Not out of disrespect or kind of a universal disrespect of opinion, but I'm the only person who really understands my true potential.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the only one who understands yours. So
yeah, but I do get where you come from, because it's like even yeah, definitely me. It's like, I don't know whether you're scared of your potential sometimes, or not scared.
Yeah.
But you think like if you really want something, but then you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that.
Being scared.
Who am I to do that, or kind of why? Like, I don't know. Like, I think I'm less scared of that than most people, but there's still something there.
Yeah.
And,
it's a thing. I think it's a thing. Being scared of success is as much a thing as being scared of failure, I think.
Yeah. I don't think I'm afraid to fail. Like, I'm not afraid to try, but maybe I'm a bit too afraid to be successful, if that makes sense. So,
why would you be afraid to be successful?
I don't know. It's like just something that I'm not used to, or it's kind of like saying, oh, well, that's people over there, or someone in America, or someone, I don't know, someone not from around here. I think there is I've talked a lot about it. I think there is a deep-rooted sort of in your psychology, northern, if you're northern, I know it's not always the same, but it varies. We've talked about the Mancunian swagger, you know, the bit of cockiness and arrogance potentially over there. But I think there is something in the northeastern psyche, kind of not getting too big for your boots.
That's an interesting subject though, because I mean, what we've just done there, because we're just two mates chatting, is I asked you about you, and then you immediately defaulted to the region. You know what I mean? So you don't have to do that, because you know, it's none of my business really, and anyone who's watching this, it's perhaps none of their business either. But I asked you why you were afraid of success. You don't have to answer it if you don't want to, because it's just me. We're just mates chatting. But that's an interesting thing for.
Yeah.
And by the way, now I'm kind of prodding you with a stick on this. You can ask me things now, and if I hide behind something, then you can, you know.
Well, you know, like, well, yeah. So I think I tend to downplay things, or like it sounds, or I'll say things. I'll say, "Oh, that sounds a bit wanky," or "That sounds a bit arrogant," or what. Like I'm always
to who? To who?
Yeah, to who? But
what's the answer to who?
Well,
whose opinion are you so worried about? It's I'm not saying you are, but you know, the logical thing is, well, if you're worried, whose opinion are you worried about? Because you can clearly imagine someone. Who is it?
Well, there isn't, and that's the thing. There isn't anyone.
So as soon as you do that, then it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, I talked about stepping into my greatness or fulfilling my potential and all that sort of stuff. I don't really know what my potential is. You know, I think it's.
But the interesting thing is, we talk most about things like this after several bottles of Desperado. You know, so if Desperado is part of the business plan, then maybe we should. I mean, we should say, because I'm drinking this, it is 8 o'clock, 7:30 at night, not 7:30 in the morning that we're recording.
I haven't got anything, unfortunately. So
I know.
Yeah, I need to sort that out.
It's bad. Well, it's not bad. It's good. But yeah, I just wanted, you know, I think. It's confusing, isn't it? Because you're an ambitious guy.
Well, that's the thing. Like, yeah. So I'm again looking for reasons or trying to rationalize behavior and stuff like that. But yeah, in some ways, I'm very ambitious and want to be really successful. But then in other ways, actually, I quite like it. I'm not lazy. I'm definitely not lazy, but actually, I quite like the idea of an easy life and not having to. And just floating along and doing what I want when I want, and not having to be answerable to anyone. And
so that can all be, personally, I think that can all be managed, because I increasingly compartmentalize now, because I've realized that I'm really at my best early, 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, I wake up and you know, it's like a waking for a release of ideas and energy. I fell asleep this afternoon for an hour. I was on a call with a client, and
you didn't fall asleep during the call, did you?
Yeah, no, I didn't. But strangely, that there's all sorts going on in this conversation. But I felt slightly guilty. You know, I thought, my God, what am I doing? Falling asleep at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But it was intense. The call was intense. It was important because it involves redundancies and dramatic change, and you know, the trebling of turnover within a 2-year period inside a world that nobody understands anymore. You know, it was, and I thought, and then I'm thinking, I want to speak to Paul this evening, and I want to not be kind of going. So I had a shower and I came and sat down.
Yeah, good.
So what's my point there? I mean, the point I was going to make there is compartmentalizing, because to be amazing, I think, is to try and be, you know, I don't know if I'm embarrassing myself or not, but the things I don't do many things. I do 3 things. I'm trying to be the world's best at those 3 things. And I'll either achieve it or I won't, by my definition of best. And if a person asks me, what do you mean by best? I would tell them, because I've clearly defined it.
Yeah.
But at other times I'll fall asleep. And that's my point, because compartmentalizing, I'm not on it all the time. Because I pause and I think, and that brings us back to a point we made earlier, that this pause that's been imposed upon us, there is space, and something will either grow in the space or something won't grow in the space. You know, we're in a country where domestic violence is on an upward curve. People getting pissed is on an upward curve. People doing absolutely nothing and getting the money and feeling there's going to be a strange underbelly of let's call it laziness, because it's a word that we've both mentioned. It's kind of strange. You know, I'm getting 80% of my salary for doing fuck off here. So, but you know, keeping your foot on the pedal properly, I think, is very important for a certain kind of person. And I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
But every now and then I do nothing, zero.
Yeah. No. Well, I'm the same. I don't think I could just do nothing. Like, I'm always doing something, but even if it is reading a book or listening to some music or going for walks or taking photos, you know, I'm trying to be creative and doing stuff and making like forward momentum in everything that I'm doing, or trying to learn or grow personally, professionally, or whatever. But
have you thought about 2022? Have you thought? I mentioned that because
2022.
Because the reason I asked that, kind of, it seems like that's a bit rabbit out of the hat. Like, well, where's that question come from? Because it seems to me that 2020 is a period of organic change, consistent organic swings to the left, swings to the right. We're all in a queue, I think, in the world. We're in a queue where we're either going to get coronavirus or we're not, and we're either going to live or we're going to die, or we're going to be very poorly in between. Something's going to happen. And all we're doing with this social distancing, etc., until we find a cure, and of course we may never find a cure, is moving around in the queue. That's all we're doing, I think. That's why my brain's processing it. So 2021, I think, is going to be fallout and the new normal, which again I would predict that is, I mentioned this actually, but all statistics which look at data which explores what happens in deep recessions and epidemics, suggest that within 2 calendar years we go back to virtually exactly how it was before.
Really?
And there's also data out today which I saw. I can't cite the source, but it was with, you know, a very popular marketing guy called Mark Ritson, talking about how consumer behavior and opinions this month have been mapped on what they were like in, I think, February, and they're almost exactly the same. So there's this kind of froth of, you know, I hope we're all nicer to each other in the future, and I really miss this kind of thing. But actually what's going on is virtually exactly the same on a consumer behavior level than it was in February. I just wanted to say this because the prism of the media massively distorts things.
Yeah.
But back to my question, the reason I ask about 2022 is because I think whether coronavirus is still here or not, I would predict that I don't know, maybe it will, maybe it won't. What are you going to, I mean, how old will you be in 2022?
Just 43, so I'll be 45.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Same as me then. So
will you be 55?
I'll be 54, 53 or 54, something like that.
Yeah.
But the reason I was asking the question is because I'm having a little think about because it's noisy at the moment, and then next year will be and then 2022 is the first time I'm kind of thinking, right, with this tunnel we're in, I'm just coming through now and having a little look. Not sure what it'll look like, but I just wondered, because you've got this flip, you're known for 2 things, I think. One is being Paul Lancaster, and one is Newcastle Startup Week. I just wondered if you've got things, and yeah, after all this massive question and ramble, you could just go, nah. But the question is, what is you in 2022? What does that look like?
Well, good question. I mean, the work I was doing at the end of this year, start of this year, was thinking a bit more about that. But I think I don't know. Like, start of week, I think is can keep going, but it, you know, the idea was to move away from just doing big events and doing an all year round platform online membership, which this is a precursor to that, I suppose, the Facebook stuff. But it was going to be.
You want to get into selling your time? That's a left field question. Do you want to get into selling your time as well?
Well, I have done it in the past, but
do you want to do that in the future? Is that part of your? I'm just curious.
Yes, but my time is precious, so I don't want to sell a lot of my time. I'd rather sell a little bit of my time for a lot of money.
Well, I was going to say, basically, the new thing I'm doing has a day rate which is higher than any day rate I've worked on for a long, long time, actually. Well, ever, actually, in terms of the core activity. and I have a target of 150 days a year by 2022. That's the reason I'm asking you the question, because that actually allows me to have a certain level of income and allow the other projects I'm doing to flourish, because they need my attention, and allow me to do 1 or 2 other projects, because I do 3 projects at the moment. The sweet spot, I think, is 5, with a mixture of business to consumer and business to business brands, because they're all brands, because they all mean something. And just to repeat, you know, the Michael brand, michael.co.uk, which is the new thing, I suppose, is 150 days of consultancy a year by 2022. And I actually would go, you know, I kind of know how many of those days one client would buy in a year. So that tells me how many clients I need to win. So I just wondered, and again, I'm springing it on you, just go, I don't know what you're talking about, but I just know that you have a very valuable experience and skill set that most people don't pay for. I think it's important to be precise about what your skills are, so that people can understand what the skill is, how it's applied, and how it can, you know, how valuable it can be. So you want to sell some of your days going forward, of your cleverness.
But different clients, I think that's the thing. So we talked about this more national, more international work. And then whether Startup Week continues or not, in a way, I think there's a lot of value in it, but actually if it doesn't continue, it's not the end of the world. It's been a great project. You know, learned a lot along the way, achieved amazing things from nothing. It's a good example of what I can do. It's a good perfect embodiment of what I'm all about and stuff. But
Newcastle Startup Week.
Yeah, but I don't just want to do local, regional stuff. I want to do things of national and international significance.
I mean, the things you've achieved, in my opinion, are far more than you have any right to have achieved as one human being. You know, to within 4 years to have 1,000 people who pay 150 quid to come to the thing, or more, because in my opinion, of course, it should be more. But you know, I moan about that. Yeah. But interestingly, what I see when I look at you is, you know, earlier on we were talking down ourselves because of the northernness, perhaps. But I worked on a project for Baltic, remember, you know, the UK's second biggest contemporary art space behind Tate. And the brand position we talked about with them was around contemporary art unplugged, which is, it was to reposition and disrupt a little bit the way that Tate will often behave, because there's a degree of pretension to how they are about contemporary art. I wanted to build in up here that it was about fucking accessible, real, raw, spontaneous art for the masses. Yeah. That's where the phrase contemporary art unplugged comes from, because there's a weird juxtaposition there. Because weird, you know, when I look at you, you're about your levels of excellence are high. You know, really, you're you know, I've said it before when you send me emails, and I noticed it from the very first moment I met you. Beautifully structured, always spelt correctly, topped and tailed. There's none of this, because I know him and he's my mate, just fucking throwing things out there. It's very precise, because you're on it all the time. Okay, so strange, the juxtaposition of all that with the relaxed northern confidence, swagger, a word that you used, I find that really intriguing and very valuable on a global scale. Yeah. And because another little phrase I really like is accessible excellence, because a lot of brands see it as a choice. You're either accessible or you're excellent, because the more excellent you get, the more difficult it is to feel accessible to the masses or to the market segments you're meant to be serving. But I think the best brands achieve both. Yeah. And I think you have the potential to epitomize both, this accessible excellence thing. Okay. Right.
But that's a focus on accessible excellence. I know that we both went to Copenhagen in September, went to the festival.
£8 a pint. £8 a pint. What's that about?
Yeah, that's excellent. I mean, it's I don't know whether
it was lovely,
festival, but it's a lovely place, isn't it? I mean,
it's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely way of living. We've got a great quality.
Fantastic.
Of life. Yeah. But then, so going there, but then also going to Lisbon, like going to this web summit event where there's people all around the world. I do find that when I talk to people from around the world, they are not surprised, but they're like, they do regularly say, wow, like what you've done.
So is the word you're looking for impressed?
Yeah, they're impressed. They are impressed. And they're all, most people are like, we wish we had something like that in our city or in our country or something like that. So I'm definitely.
So they're impressed with you. They're impressed with you.
Yeah. Well, not only, I show them photos, I tell them the event, but then, they're just impressed with that. And then when I tell them the whole concept of it, but then I think it would be, I don't say how small the team is or that it's mostly me throughout the year with a small team that I bring in on the delivery side of things. But I'm just saying that there is something about that down to earth, accessible kind of, but there is some excellence there as well that they are, and I like that. I like that kind of unassuming kind of nature, that I like kind of catching people by surprise a little bit.
I don't think there's some excellence in there. I think it's excellent. It's as simple as that. I think what you do is excellent. That's it.
Okay.
And therefore it's impressive, and therefore you're impressive. But it's nice, of course, that the thing I've always suggested with you is that you're likable, it seems to me, which is because there's none of it. We don't strut around and kind of say, look at me, which I think is the story you've just been telling. It's quite unassuming, but you've achieved a lot of really nice things.
Yeah, but but I think we can do more and bigger.
Yeah.
And more impressive. And I want to be successful. I want to create wealth, not just for me, but for others as well. But I want to.
This is an interesting subject though, because it's going towards perhaps what's the word? An aligning of scale. I'm putting words in your mouth now to a little bit, but I'm just bringing a subject in, which is aligning success with scaling.
Yeah.
Because one business that I have is not designed to scale. It's designed to get to a certain point, 300 units per year. Yeah. That's it. So I just wanted to mention, because clearly the thousands watching this, the tens of thousands watching this when it goes out.
It's gone up. It's 500,000 now.
Half 500,000 people watching this. I just wanted to mention that a lot of businesses I've known and some I've worked with to equate scaling with success is, I'm not saying it's what you said, but that's not necessarily a thing. You can set your goal. This is what I mean by setting your goals as high, but precise as well. Some things I do think that I can be very, very, very good at, and it's taken me a while to be. I mean, I'm 51 now, aren't I? So I've just called a business after me. It's nearly me, Michael, with a Y, mychal.co.uk. So it's a little more distinctive, I suppose. But I've never done that before, and I've run businesses since the first one I was 20. I ran for 2 or 3 years, and then the first of the bigger ones was from 30. So it's a long time, but I just wanted to say it's taken me a long time to be ballsy enough to name something after myself. But some I think can be big, and some I think will stay little.
Well, it doesn't get any smaller, or a business.
If I'm selling my time, it can't scale beyond the numbers of hours in a day, I suppose.
Yeah. No, what I mean, like calling it Michael, and Michael is you,
Yeah.
I know you've literally just started that, and you do mention on your website that you can bring people in if you need.
Yeah.
But primarily it's people who want you, they want to pay you for your expertise. So at the minute, I don't specifically sell me, but I am part of the package. That's definitely why some clients for the consultancy work and some of the sponsors for Startup Week want to be associated with Startup Week is because they want my insights, they want to get closer to me, or they want my influence or ability to amplify their reach, because that is part of it. My social media follower, my influence perceived
isn't important.
Yeah, that is part of it, but I don't sell that specifically at the minute. Other than Plan Digital is the business, inbound marketing, community engagement, consultancy, and events. So yes, I could sell consultancy, I could sell time, I could do projects on that, but it's still a layer wrapped around me. And
Yeah.
then startup week is an event. There's a limit to how many people you can physically get into some of the venues. So the Boiler Shop, that's the biggest venue you use. That maximum we can get 750 people in there at the minute. So unless you go to the arena or the Eagles Stadium or something like that, which is I think 1,500, 2,000 people, the vibe's different. There is a limit to how many people you can physically get in a venue, and how many people are in an area, and how many people will travel to Newcastle compared to Lisbon, where they have.
But this is the thing that might throw you though, because now you've gone digital and you're known to have gone digital. No matter if only 2 people look, or 2,000 or 200,000 look, you've got a digital aspect to the offering now, which means that it's arguably infinitely scalable globally. And you know, the brand. Are you calling this? What's the brand? What are you calling this digital week?
So I'm still calling the week Newcastle Startup Week Online.
Yeah.
But it's being delivered through the. We've got a private Facebook group which is just called Startup Week Community. So I've dropped Newcastle from that, right? Because then it's not geographically limited. And we do have people from all over the UK and overseas who are participating in the event. They're either speaking or they've bought tickets for the event as well. So I think you talked about this, Newcastle Startup Week, having a physical events. There's only so many people in the northeast or outside the region who are willing to travel to Newcastle, right? So there is a limit to how many people you can get there. But when you have the online offering, like I say, that potentially could be, it's unlimited potentially. And then there's me as an individual. What I'm already doing on social media, I do have quite a lot of followers. I do have some influence online and offline. But where could I take that? You know, I could do more. I'm not saying I want to be a YouTuber, but I don't do any videos. I could do more videos, and that is part of the plan, to do more videos. Books. I'm already doing podcasts. There's no reason why I can't do more of that sort of thing. And it is, I think we do sort of wrap layers around ourselves. There's good reasons to put structures and companies.
Yeah, I mean, it's either revenue streams, isn't it? Or this thing about things that feed into and from each other. Because you strike me as a kind of guy who could run several things at the same time. Side projects are an amazing thing to do. And being aware of when a side project becomes the core project, because that's actually what's happened with me. But I've pivoted back to perhaps what we're supposed to be talking about. You know, I've pivoted so the core project became the side project, and the side project flipped and became the core. It's just moving it about and doing whatever you want, really, whilst, you know, keeping the consumer in mind or the audience in mind all the time. But yeah, you could have several revenue streams, I think. And there's several different ways to scale. You know, regionalizing what you do is one way to scale, or just broadening the focus of the core activity is an entirely different strategy. Yeah. So it's not Newcastle anymore, and it's Northeast, or then it's Northern, or of course you just replicate it, license it out, or what, I don't bloody know, you know, however.
Yeah. When I started, I started talking a lot more about the Northeast and Scotland and the Nordics. So like that's interesting, like the biking connection, you know, I think there's real opportunities there to unite the Northeast with Scotland and the Nordics. And when I've been going up to Scotland and speaking to people from Nordic countries, they quite like that idea. They often they've never thought about it before, but actually when they're looking at it, they're like, there's a lot of similarities with the culture and the language and the customs. There's also actually Sophia Stovall from Tiny Archives and Museums, who's did a talk on Monday, and she spoke last year at the start of the week. She did a talk on day 4 of the Scale Up Day about the tall poppy syndrome in Scandinavian countries, where it is kind of like a Viking Scandi thing where if you get too big for your boots, you do get kind of cut down to size. Like it's not seen as a good thing to stand out too much.
Yeah.
Maybe I am thinking about it too much, but I think there is something in the water or something in the culture or your upbringing, which if you're from certain places that makes you less willing to step outside the norm. Because through experience or just you see things or the correct way to behave or whatever, you think, well, if I do like, step out too much, then I'm going to get cut down to size. Do you know what I mean?
I totally understand, but the subject is, for me, it's just one subject, and it's self-awareness, because being aware of how and why we behave, how we weigh, and then we manage it. So if you want to be successful, I don't think that cultural I mean, whatever Elon Musk's background is, he's just a freak, he's just a freak. So you can do what you want, really, but being aware of where you come from and how you're expected to behave, I'm with you 100%. But the reason I mention self-awareness is because if you become totally aware of how you are and why you're being how you are, then you can manage your responses and your behaviors. Because a lot of people, in my experience, do not do that. They go, this is how I behave because of where I'm coming from. And that, for me, that's half a job. Well, that's fine. I understand where you are. What are you going to do about it? And if you do nothing, and too many times the answer is nothing. I am like this because of an external force. And you can manage virtually any external force, I think, because we've all had lots of positive and negative influences around us, and managing them, whatever that's called, is a big part of achieving ambition. Coming back to a subject you brought up, which is potential, because you have a potential the same as everybody else. Everybody watching this does. Achieving that potential is fascinating to me, and that's the reason I've gone into business 9 or 10 times now, is to understand and try and realize the potential of each and everything that I've done. And at the moment there's 3. And with you, there's a number of things. And that's why I'm asking about 2022, because I think 2021 is a project. And I don't think that we should, when I say we, I'm talking about most businesses. I don't think many businesses should creep through 2020 and 2021, because there's 18 months left. Personally, I think that we should see it as a standalone project. That's just my view, and go, right, this is what I anticipate the kind of things that might happen in this period, and then totally attack that period with a set of behaviors which achieve, going towards certain goals. I just feel that 2022 is going to be different again. It's going to be more like where we've come from, but I do sense that the next 18 months are going to be unusual. And on that basis, I think that one should have a plan for that period. That's different than what's gone before and what's gone afterwards. The reason I'm talking like this, of course, is because this isn't just me and you talking, and there might be people having a look at what I'm rattling on about and what we're talking about. And it's a theme, it's a recurring theme with people I'm working with at the moment, which is, what are we going to do in this next 18 months to maximize the opportunities, to minimize the threats, and at the same time prepare for 2022, which, all things being equal, is going to feel more like 2019, 2020 than this weird 18 months going forward. So I suppose that's a strategic bit of waffle.
You're the first person I've heard talk about 2022. Like, I think most people are still just living in like now and in like months.
Well, you can if you want, but if a business has talked about strategy, they can't, in my experience, you can't go, let's talk about strategy. Well, we'll talk about through to next Thursday then. You can't do it. So I think we need to, like any period of time in any business I've ever run or any business I've ever helped, the variables, I suppose, are what you're trying to achieve, with what resources, by when. And then you develop strategies and tactics in between based on a brand position that we've developed together, blah, blah, blah. But that's my work. But I think, and I'm repeating myself, the next 18 months is going to be, I think we should project forward 18 months personally. and think about that as a standalone project before we then consider 2022 as and beyond as different again.
That's good. I mean, I told you, I mean, the end of last year I did a strategic growth plan with Alan Hodgkins, and that is a 3-year plan. That is like saying, wait, so that was before where we are now. So actually, when I go and do it again just yesterday, not that much has changed. It's just doing it in a slightly different way, in a different order, a bit sooner than planned, but actually still achievable what I set out to do. Just if I focus on that, I can do it. So it's getting that focus back.
Are there a number of projects? I don't know what's in it. Are there a number of projects in it, or is it one thing, or various things?
So it's basically how to. It's probably not ambitious enough, to be honest. It's how to go from where I am now to like a £1 million plus turnover business, which that isn't a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. When you just kind of where the business is now to that sounds like a big jump, but actually it's not. If I do what I say I'm going to do, but it's shifting the focus to be more of the online platform, the online tribes platform, which I've told you about. The partnerships I've already got in place with people like HubSpot. Got some really good commercial partnerships in place with them and various others. About me potentially doing more consultancy work, bigger projects, more national, international stuff, and me as a speaker.
Can I ask you, when you set your goals, my brain was kind of hearing 3 different things there. One was money. One was offerings. So, for example, before I rudely interrupted you again, you mentioned speaking. Are you driven by a third thing? So the first one's money. The second thing is the range of offerings, and therefore perhaps the range of revenue streams and the
It's 8 o'clock.
and the interdependency of those revenue streams. Was that my computer saying it's 8 o'clock? Did you hear that?
I thought it was just you making a funny voice.
No, I've got a funny voice anyway. But the third one, and I think is the most important of all. So the first one's money. The second one is core projects, side projects, revenue streams. The third one, which I talk about a lot, of course, is the change you want to make. Thing that you're going, all of that stuff you have to do to achieve this change. The real focus on the things that piss you off about what you do or what they don't do. This is what I'm driven by. I'm just curious as to how does that exist in your world as vividly as that? So there's making money, numbers, and then the profitability or non-profitability of the turnover, the number of things you need to do in terms sales projections, etc., to achieve those goals. But actually, this is the thing that gets me out of bed in the morning. This is what I'm driven by. What's in that third bit? Just cut me off if I'm asking.
No. It's there. It's in here. It's not necessarily written down anywhere. It comes out through conversations like this, or think when I've got time to think on my own, or sometimes if I actually take time to write things down, articulate.
Can I tell you why I ask? It's because, and I can never work out whether it's 1, 2, 3 or 3, 2, 1. Is my hand? I can't work out if it's moving from right to left. Doesn't matter. But basically, I would put at number 3 chronologically the money I want to make. Number 2, the activity that I do in order to make that. Number 1, what is the change I want to make? Right. I just wanted to say that because that's the way brands think, true brands, and that's the way I think. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a rich person, so it could be a load of shite. But the point is, I think that the way to set up businesses should be, this is the change I want to make, or this is what I think I can achieve. Yeah. And it's quite precise and hugely ambitious. This is the infrastructure I need to achieve that, and this is the money I might make as a result. I definitely don't think it should be starting at that end.
No.
Not that that's what you said, but I'm just...
Well, yeah, I think in order priority 3 is money for me, like least important. at the minute or up until now, it's been more about the things that I do, about
Yeah.
because I want to experience things and I want to try things and I want to like learn by doing things and sort of learn by doing and be experimental. So I'm still, up until now, that's been probably the number one. The change I want to make is in there, but it's probably not as clear and vivid as it could be or should be. So I probably need to switch 1 and 2 round.
It's interesting. I mean, you do what you want to do. However, it's interesting why, you know, this is me being very opinionated now, actually, because this is not a fact. Although I'm so opinionated, I'd say that it is a fact. That there's a chronology, there's a clear chronology. Because when you were talking, the way you articulated it was as a choice. You know, I don't chase the money, Mike. And I know that's true because I've known you for 2 or 3 years now. But strangely, I'm not suggesting it's not a decision. Don't just be driven by an important change. This is what my little brain tells me. Plug in to change which potential consumers and, you know, them out there, they want this change. Work out the best way to give them that change based on the collision of 3 things that Michelle and I talk about in one of these talks: what you're bloody good at, what you're really good at, what you love, and what people will pay for. And then the money comes. So it's not a decision. It's a chronology. It's a clear chronology. It's just gone 8 o'clock, so there's people singing and clapping outside now.
No, are we supposed to clap?
Yeah, they'll not miss us. I mean, the sentiment, we're thinking about them. It's important. Is there anything else we should be talking about with this? I mean, we've been chatting for a while now. I mean, it's your thing. Is there anything you wanted to explore?
Well, I don't know, like, I mean, the whole theme, like, keep going or pivot. I suppose, like, we talked about pivoting, and like, so when do you? So you've just changed again. Like, I mean, even a couple of things. Like, a couple of things before I forget. I think what you're really good at. Well, you're good at really good lots of things. I think very creative, and I love talking to you and seeing what you do, and always impressed with what you come up with. I think you're very good at talking yourself into things or talking yourself up into things, right? And I think when you talk about things and you verbalize what you do, it's, you convince yourself and you convince other people around you that it's a good thing, right?
It's a big turn off for some people, including me sometimes, but thank you.
I like it, right? But I can be persuasive, and I get buy-in from people, but it's not as what's the word, forthright or kind of sure of like that it's going to be a success. Do you know, like, I might think it's going to be a big success, but I'm still playing it down honestly. I'm just saying that there's a different style to what I do and the way you do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that is an observation that you are very good at talking. I sometimes feel like you are talking yourself into things that need to do that to get yourself into something.
I say it out loud, and as many times I say it out loud, and then I go, "That's really stupid," but that's my thing, you know. I do. Let's do this. Oh no! And then the next day I'll go, "That was ridiculous." Yeah, you're right. It's a bit blurty. Sometimes it's.
I like it, but by then you've already got a load of people excited and they're away they go and they're doing it, and you're like, "Oh shit, I don't." Actually.
Well, that's exactly what happened with 50 odd. You know, I started a thing, and some people started following it, and then I kind of had to carry it on, and now I really enjoy it. But sorry, back to your observation and question or whatever you were going to.
That was just an observation, and then the other thing was, well, in the time in the last few years since we've been hanging out a lot more and becoming good mates and doing a bit of work together and stuff, like you have changed quite a bit. Like your focus was, you shut down all your businesses. All your focus was on Always Wear Reds, the fashion brand. That was all your focus was on that. Amazing stuff, amazing products that you did, and I just love the whole ethos around it and everything. That you are a great storyteller, brand guy. Just everything about it really resonated with me. And then you started doing the 50 odd stuff, and then you brought Angelfish back as an agency, as like a loose collective, you, me, other people were in that. Then you haven't shut Angelfish down. It's gone back to being Lisa is running that. It's her thing. You've left that, and other people aren't part of that anymore. 50 odd is amazing. Like, it's a daily dose of inspiration. I do genuinely love everything that you write. I just love the way you write and the way you think, and the variety of it is just the way you think is. I just love it. But little doses of music and, you know, culture, and I just love it, right? and that seems to be, there's potential there. Then you've got this Michael, which is kind of like Angelfish improved, if you know what I mean, like kind of like a stronger, more focused version of what you were doing with Angelfish, right?
Yeah.
Where am I going with this? So I guess it is that kind of pivot. Like, we've talked about pivoting, but like, when to know to stop doing something and to change direction. So what like, when and why? When,
well,
why, when, why, and how? Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. It's like, we know what pivoting is, but when?
Yeah.
What was the kind of like trigger? Because I'm quite into the idea of triggers. So you have positive triggers and negative triggers. I think most people make a change when something bad happens. Right?
Okay, so I set up, very short story. I set up Always Wear Red. I mean, the businesses I had at, you know, their peak turned over $1.5 million, I suppose. Then I set up Always Wear Red because I just couldn't do that anymore for various reasons. And the first year's sales projection for Always Wear Red were 400,000. The actual sales were about 4,000, and the actual spend was many tens of thousands. So I went back to Angelfish, and by the way, Always Wear Red was a massive learning curve and still is, and I love it. I really do. It makes me me. About, you know, a six-figure sum's gone out, and about 60 or 70% of that sum has come back in. So as a percentage, it's still a few tens of thousands of pounds down. So basically, I went back to Angelfish because I've got a lot to offer as a brand builder, because I understand brand and how it connects with marketing and how it connects with design. Well, this is coming back to your point. I think I went back to Angelfish because I had to, not because I wanted to, even though it made sense for me, and I believe I've got a lot to offer in the world of brand, because I've worked with some of the world's best brands and brand builders. Michael is different because two things happened in the lockdown. One of them was Lisa didn't want me in the business anymore. She wanted me out. And I've been inside. I've just a call coming through. I'm just going to get rid of it. So yeah, okay. She wanted me out, but the interesting thing is, you know, Lisa's my other half, as well as someone I respect with her specialist strengths, and she says that she respects me with mine. But she'd had enough. Not in an explosion, by the way. I kind of knew Lisa's lovely to me, but she kind of said in a very nice way, "I just fucking want you out because I've had enough of." Because I'm a very direct, precise thinker. I understand excellence. I think I understand what world class is. I can sometimes get there and sometimes I fail miserably, but I know what I want, and I want things to be world class. And it's very hard, you know, when you're with someone. So anyway, the minute I could sense she wanted me out, I left. And it was a great opportunity for me to do one thing, and that's narrow down to doing what I truly believe in. What I truly believe in is that most businesses are so boring. I'll say this, they did, because I've had a one pint. Most businesses are so boring that they deserve to die. And the reason I say that with a smile on my face on purpose is because they're just so boring. And there's a statistic that backs that up, which is 20 to 30 billion pounds a year is spent on business and brand communications in the UK, just the UK, every year. And about 90% of it is neither noticed nor remembered. 6% of the remaining 10% is not remembered favorably. Yeah. So only 4% of all business communications is remembered favorably. Yeah. So 96% of it is just shit. So basically, when I'm working with businesses, I encourage them to be challenging. And people say to me, "How can I get people interested in me?" Be interesting, because you're boring. You're doing what everyone else in the category is doing. So this kind of fizzy version of me, this effervescent version of me, only exists with clients who are brave enough to want to stand out. And if you stand out, people choose you. And if people choose you, you make money. Don't be one of the blah, blah, blah. And the biggest baddies in all of this are the agencies, because the agencies do what I used to do in the early days of the agency, was not think about what's best for the client, but it was to think about what was most likely to get them to spend most money. And that's completely wrong. Everybody loses. So coming back to your question, I've gone into a niche now where I thought, what is the only kind of work that I love doing? And love is the correct word. And it's adventurous, different, because it's better to be different than it is to be better. Different, challenging, zany work. And the best example I can give you in my lifetime, and maybe you'll remember it as well, is, the kind of things that Phileas Fogg did. Phileas, to make up Punjabi Airlines. And you and I can still remember exactly where the factory was 30 years on, Medinsley Road concert. This is incredible storytelling around the creation of a new category, the adult snack food market, this kind of science. And then, so going from the brand opportunity through to the brand building, through to the marketing, through to the storytelling, through to the creative application, that's my home. That's where I feel at home. If I'm not going to work with another engineering company who wants to talk about reliability and consistency and excellence, because it's bullshit, because that's what the category should be doing. I'll calm down in a second, but basically I live where I belong now. So we talk about pivoting. In actual fact, it's narrowing. All I've done is narrow down to where I'm most happy. And I'm only happy when I can be effective. In theory, everyone wins.
Yeah, because if you know what should be done and you want it to happen, but other people aren't getting it, or they're putting blockers in the way. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I don't like working in companies anymore.
But people, why would somebody want to be paid £1,000 a day ish to be ignored?
Yeah, well, some people will happily take that, but yeah.
Actually, some people go, I would. Well, I wouldn't. I have that. I don't want that. Well, it's not what I'm here to do.
I've kind of tried to turn work down, or try to say that's not. And sometimes you get it right where you get paid and it's great work and you love what you do and the people are.
That's the triangle, isn't it? I love it, I'm good at it, and I get paid for it. That's it.
Exactly. But it is rare to find that. I think it is really hard to do that if you're going in as a consultant as well, though. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because you're always an outsider, and some people will love you, especially if they brought you in. But there'll be some people who are suspicious of your motives and scared of what you're going to say in case it makes them look bad or kind of undermines them. I think so. You've always got to deal with.
But what I'm hearing now is egos. I mean, you can either manage egos or you can't. But I haven't got time, really. I mean, how much, going back to, some people are like that and some people aren't. There are enough businesses that are to keep me happy, and you perhaps, because if you're a guy who said, look, Mike, I want 100. If I got 100 grand a year, I'd be happy. If I got 200 grand a year, I'd be very happy. You know what I mean? To do that, we know what to do. We come up with a decent day rate and sell. It's a simple sum. It's the day rate times the number of days to get to the number we want after tax, etc., and overhead. Yeah. So the point is, it can be done no problem at all. Because when I turned over 7 figures, and my wage bill was not far off 7 figures, you know what I mean? Well, at some points I thought, what is the point of this? Sometimes, But going back to, I suppose, what a lot of people would call purpose, if you fall in love with the change you're making, not really about the money, but it's part of the mix.
What happened to Phileas Fogg? I mean, it was amazing. Like, why did it get bought out, or what?
It did get bought out. There were 4 guys who started it originally, didn't they? One of them was Roger McKechnie, who I was lucky enough to know for a little while. Don't know if he's still around.
So where it went wrong when they got bought out?
it's really weird because, I mean, did it go wrong? I mean, some products or some brands / products have an S-shaped lifespan. You know, they invented the category of adult snack foods because they just noticed that when, you know, you're too young because you're a young whippersnapper, but they noticed that people my mum's age probably were going to the off license and just going, I'll have a couple of bottles of wine for £5 and a shitloads of bags of crisps, because there was nothing for, you know, what will I have? Salt and vinegar, cheese and onion, or smoky bacon, you know what I mean? So they went for the adult snack market was in the 1982, that was. That's how long ago that was. But I mean, then of course, I mean, everybody moved into the category. They led the category for a while. But that's where brand comes in, that wonderful dance of the best brands play the long game. They actually saw an opportunity, invented a category and led a category, which is the holy grail of it all, but staying at the top of a category. Dyson have done it for 15-ish years now. Phileas Fogg, I don't know how long they did it for, Paul, to come back to your question.
But it was, when you think about it, maybe with rose-tinted glasses, but it was what seems perfect what they did, because it, you know,
absolutely.
The tastes are great, the snacks were great.
Absolutely, yeah.
The flavors were really interesting. The stories behind each one, Phileas Fogg around the world in 80 days, the whole concept, the packaging looked great as well. But Medhamsey Road concert, I mean, my dad's family is from concert. Like, it shouldn't have come from concert. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the thing is, the spices were shoveled onto aeroplanes, and the airline was called Punjabi Airlines. It didn't exist, and it never fucking happened. Yeah. But it doesn't matter, because the humility and the likability and you're right. I mean, I'll tell you a quote that I said to someone recently about me and brand. I said, brand is important, but it's nowhere near as important as people like me tell you it is. And what I mean by that is, which is what you do, if the product wasn't good, it's a waste of bloody time anyway. But you're right. I agree with you. They got the timing. Timing. How do you legislate for timing? You know, you can, I suppose, to a degree, but, you know, everything was just about right, in my opinion, through the early 80s. Then other people entered the category. That requires a new strategy when it becomes more competitive, because you're reacting to people to a degree. You know, if you're only reacting to people coming into the category, then you're doing it completely wrong. But this is all part of what I do.
I'm trying to think of, I mean, you'll have loads of other examples. I'm trying to think of other people that have done things as exciting as that in different ways. So do you remember, I know we share a lot of the similar tastes in music, but I'm more into dance music than you are, but do you remember the KLF?
Yeah, I do.
Everything about the KLF, like, you know, talking about the justified ancients of Moo Moo.
But what was the one thing that they did?
The car. Well,
actually, maybe there's more than one thing, but correct me if I'm wrong, but they burnt and they
burned £1 million, then they set on
fire. Yeah.
But before that, I mean, just everything, they just invented this whole world around them and their music. And it was just two Scottish guys, I think. One's definitely Scottish. They've got a book as well. It's called The Manual, which I've got, and it's how to get a #1 record. And they basically tell you step by step how to get a #1 record the way they did it, right? It's like paint by numbers. If you do this, you get #1 record. But then just everything about the music, the videos, the imagery, the idea of this, like, justified ancients of Moo Moo, what the hell is all that about? And the things that they were singing about, and and like they did really experimental movies, and setting fire to.
Did they have a manager?
I don't think they did.
It's interesting because, I mean, for me, like a Venn diagram, what the KLF did, in my opinion, and what the four men behind the Phileas Fogg brand did, definitely have an overlap. There'd be more strategy, I would suggest, in the world of, actually, maybe there was. Maybe this is why the subjects like this are so interesting, because strategically, they kind of probably knew what they were doing. You know, if there was bits of, you know, if there was the occasional substance or a few cans of this, that, or the other, then that is interesting as well, because it would affect how they thought and how brave they were, etc. But I don't know. I mean, a lot of it for me is about a subject you mentioned earlier, which is creativity, the rawness of just pure creativity and being interesting. So much about brand, these subjects for me, Paul, another thing that I was very lucky that a guy called Saeed Bagil, who's a global brand chap, he got in touch with me about 3 weeks ago and asked to do a podcast with me because of one quote that I spat out on LinkedIn. I can't remember it now. But it was something like the thing about brand. Yeah, I remember it. And forgive me because I've mentioned it to you. But I basically said brand is so simple that even some of the greatest business minds don't understand it. And he looked at that and he went, I kind of agree, even though it's a bit weird what you're saying. What I'm trying to say is the fundamentals of being noticed and loved are around simplicity, consistency, having an opinion, and then polarizing to a degree. But most owner managers are so, in inverted commas, clever and big, significant business people that they fuck it up because they overcomplicate it. And I compared, weirdly, in a moment of strangeness, I suppose, and I have a few of them, brand building to love. I think people mess up relationships because they overcomplicate it. They worry, they get paranoid, or they just get bored. Just stick to the fundamentals, and you should be okay, notwithstanding changing landscapes and pandemics, of course. But there's all sorts that can go wrong in brand. That's just bloody bad luck, and business, of course. But yeah, I'm with you on the the KLF thing versus perhaps what Phileas Fogg did, perhaps what Brewdog have done to their category, for their category. But this is why it's such a good story.
I don't think the KLF were around that long either. I'll have to look into it, but not very long at all. And then I was just thinking as well, I'll stick with the music theme. Oasis, the Gallaghers. I mean, what an amazing brand they were. I mean, again, the music was amazing. The fact I had two brothers who were punching the shit out of each other. That concept of talking about how they were bigger than Jesus and all this sort of that Mancunian swagger, playing Neb with their meteoric rise, but it couldn't last like that forever. But they had do you know Alan McGee?
Yeah.
Got an amazing book by him, his biography, and how he spotted them, and he had a very clear strategy for what he was going to do with them and how he was going to make them hugely successful. But it wasn't going to be forever. It was a finite amount of time.
I find it fascinating because a very important word for me in the new business I've got, the Michael business, and it appears in the very first sentence, is unpredictable. Actually, I'm not sure it's the first sentence or the first block of text, but somebody, and I think it might have been yourself, and it was you actually. But
yes, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to say that.
But I do want that in because, and I understand the fear, and also it's a very polarizing thing for me to talk about, the strategy of Ward Hadaway and say that, a significant pillar is going to be unpredictability. It's like, they're probably, no, thank you. But that's fine. Because if you're not looking for, if it's based on my tiny brain saying, if you don't want something unpredictable, you're going to get something predictable. And if you want something predictable, go somewhere else because I'm not interested. So strangely, there's a little bit of a combative thing going on. But Oasis for me were a regurgitation of, a bit of Mark Bolan, a whole load of the Beatles, because they made the reference to me, we're more popular than Jesus as well. So I think we'll say it as well. But of course, there was lots of serendipitous stuff about the brothers not getting on so well, and that, and the drugs, which were clearly part of it, of course. And the music, of course, for me was exceptional, brilliant because of Noel Gallagher. And that fella, Liam, can sing a bit, can't he? That kind of thing. But just standing there, it probably wouldn't work. The Mank thing that we've talked about, it all made sense. But and they had as many people not liking them as liking them. And then of course the media put them nose to nose with Blur for a few years.
I mean, they really went for it, and all of those people really, really went for it and really stuck their neck out to be remarkable and outstanding at what they did. But
remarkable is an interesting word. Because for me, outstanding, that's another interesting word as well, because my brain automatically was thinking about quality. But so many times, notwithstanding my point about if you're selling a thing in a more commercial environment, then quality is clearly important.
Mm-hmm.
But to be remarkable, for me, my brain keeps coming back to this word interesting, or, you know, outstanding, different, you know what I mean? It's not about quality. So many people, honestly, the holy grail of being a good business in so many ways is just having the balls to be different and stop trying to be better. The battle of better is a terrible, terrible strategy in most markets. And the person in the Northeast who embraced that most with me was Nadine across at Gateshead College. And Gateshead College, as you know, are the #1 college in the UK. And for 5 consecutive years now, they've been the #1 college in the Northeast. They destroy Newcastle because Newcastle talk about non-ownable, generic bollocks. You know, great facilities. We're outstanding again. So are we. Gateshead talk about job creation, employment edge. It's unique and it's stand out. And the work we did with them certainly isn't the only reason why they got to #1 in the UK. Of course it isn't, but it was around that time, in my opinion, it's Nadine Hudspeth and Judith Doyle who've made that happen because they're exceptional, driven, very single-minded women. Brilliant.
Yeah, no, well, I've met them both and they are amazing. And yeah, well, Gateshead College, they've actually technically classed them as a sponsor, but they bought 58 tickets for students, so as kind of like a sponsor. So they bought some discounted tickets for the students. So hopefully they'll be watching this, but there's 58 students who've got tickets for this start of week online.
My comments are not about the institutions, it's about the brand. Yeah. Because I work for 2 of the universities actually, and I've worked for 4 universities in the Northeast, and we've worked with all of the colleges actually over the years. I say all, I think a few, 4 or 5 or 6. But my point is about brand and understanding what brand is, and the conversation that triggered our work with Nadine. She's just full of humility, likability, and creativity, and they're just so good.
What's your favorite brand?
I was asked.
You wrote a blog a while ago, didn't you, about how you were falling out of love with Apple? So, who do you might not have one.
The brand that I feel compelled to buy, and I know it's because of the brand, not just the product, is Brewdog probably, because I like the transparency and zeitgeistness, I'm making words up now, of what they did, and they just controlled and drove a category. I think that I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people in my world they ask a question, they go, do you even know what category you're in? And then they try and get the brand, if indeed the marketing person or the design agency or whatever understands brand. Most don't.
Yeah.
So this is my point. Okay, they try and take them from #1, understanding the category, to the destination, which is leading the category. Mm-hmm. People like Brewdog go somewhere that brands rarely go and stay for long, which is driving the category. Okay, so I'll always encourage a client where it's part of the desire of the owner manager, where they want to actually drive the category or change the category. So an example of a brand that's done that, I think, is Brewdog. And the way that they're valued for what it's worth is immense. I haven't got the numbers in my head, but you know, the way a brand is normally valued, and you're much better than me, this is, you know, perhaps X times turnover. Mm-hmm. The number that's applied to Brewdog is just phenomenal, you know. And I talk a lot about, I suppose, about the fundamentals of what Dyson did, because behind the scenes, just little things I find interesting, like the very first vacuum cleaner that Dyson launched was I've forgotten the exact number, but it's definitely 5,100 and something version. Their dedication to being excellent at a product level and changing the behaviors of the flipping country so that it felt a bit like a gun. So the guys liked it as well. And also they gave you they were so ballsy. All they talked about was no loss of suction, but they gave us a bracket to hang it on the wall and change our behaviors when It used to live under the carpet cleaner used to live under the stairs. And the only change they wanted to make was just, we were all pissed off with the fact that as the bag got more full, it became less suctiony. So they said, basically, we'll do something to just remove that problem. And now they turn over, well, it's certainly $1 billion last time I looked, but it's probably more now. And of course, some people don't like him because of how and where he manufactures, of course. And of course, that damages my deeper perception of the brand. But if you're asking me about what brands I respect, it's those that follow the rules of consistency, simplicity, owning a life-enhancing benefit in the mind of the consumer. It's not complex, but the discipline it takes to get there is really immense. Yeah. And the last thing I'll say is I'm learning a lot at the moment from a guy called Mark Ritson, who a subject area which I thought I knew a lot about, which I actually don't, is market orientation, which is truly understanding a business and a brand from the perspective of the consumer. I need to get better on that. And the best of brands, it's increasingly, I'm becoming increasingly aware of the fact that the greatest brands in the world are really getting the market orientation right, and I need to be better at that. But the two to spit out, I suppose, Dyson and Brewdog. And I was sad the other day because I was looking at some of the brands that Ashley now owns, Mike Ashley, that I wrote something about vultures, because in times like this, brands often get bought by people. So Everlast, I used to really love Everlast. It used to stand for me for, the dirty American fighters, and it was quality stuff. Because it's an Ashley brand now, it's just cheap. So that's a side issue about how brands can start to weaken over years because of the way that the offering changes, and there's a conflict between what the brand used to stand for when someone else buys it, blah, blah, blah. But that's just another part of the work that we all do. What about you? Do you have a brand that you particularly like?
I suppose the one that I've always loved, like just everything about Adidas. I just love Adidas. Everything about Adidas, the way it looks, and the heritage behind it, and the way they associate themselves with street culture and hip hop and kind of that counterculture. Just whereas Nike's more athletes, elite. That's, if you want to be an athlete and you want to be, you'd probably go for Nike. If you want to be, you might want to do sporty stuff, but a bit more edgy and a bit more kind of counterculture, fashion style. So that's why the fact that Oasis wore a lot of Adidas, that was a big thumbs up for me.
Yeah.
Adidas, like the only Nike trainers I would ever buy and have only ever bought are Nike Air Max. I think Nike Air Max are amazing, but I always buy Adidas. So that's probably an obvious one.
It's interesting how you it seems your Nike decision is at a product level, but your Adidas decision is at a brand level.
Yeah. And also,
I'm the same as you.
It seems more American. Well, it is American. Adidas is European, although it is, the fact that Run DMC and kind of the hip hop sort of element to it. Huel, I drink Huel every day. I just love just everything about what they're doing. I think that's very of the moment, and sort of resonates with me, the idea of healthier, getting all your vitamins and nutrients and minerals, convenience. It's a complete meal in a drink. It's vegan.
It's a complete meal in a drink.
It is a complete meal in a drink. Exactly. I'm really reciting the chapter. The packaging's good as well. Just and the collateral that you receive when the stupid things, you get a free T-shirt when you get your first order and stuff like that. And
you feel like you're part of something, don't you? When you've talked about Huel to me.
Yeah, and the guy who runs it, this way he talks about it as well. And I think some of the people that drink it as well, it tends to be, I guess, entrepreneur types. So like Stephen Bartlett, that's how I first heard about it, because he did a podcast with the the CEO of Huel. So the fact he drinks it, and I liked what they were talking about.
Is performance part of the brand for you?
Yeah, I think so. Because
it could be no. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think so. Like sort of performance, efficiency, getting you instead of just filling your face with junk food or convenience food. Like not that I did a lot of that, but I definitely last year was part of me trying to be fitter, healthier, more focused, bit of self-development, personal development, get more in tune with what I want to do and what I'm all about, what drives me and excites me, and that was just part of it, you know. Instead of just shoving a sandwich and a pack of crisps in my mouth.
But it's become a habit for you, hasn't it?
Well, that's the thing. So like every day, Monday to Friday, I'll have a bottle of Huel for lunch, and that's it. I don't want or need anything else.
I mean, it's interesting because it's fascinating to me to hear, you know, you or anyone talk like this. The fact that you put the word want before need. You know, you didn't say, you said I don't want or need anything else, and I don't know if it means anything. You didn't say I don't need or want anything else. Want first, need second, and I think it says something. I think you think it says something about you, not necessarily to somebody else, maybe just to you.
Yeah.
It's just really nice to see, because you seem to be proud to be associated with the brand, because you wanted to tell me about it, and the way you talked about it. You know, even your body language. It's a nice thing.
I mean, it tastes good as well. That's the thing. It's not a protein shake. It's not a drink going, oh, this is disgusting. It's actually, I like it. You know,
quite cool, isn't it?
Like the taste of it. So I don't know. They're kind of two that stand out. I don't know what else. I'm into. I don't know. I mean, I like. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm looking around my flat now. I'm looking for things that I've got that are.
It's interesting because we're on the spot, aren't we? And we're trying. I'm answering it more as a flipping. The paradigm I'm in at the moment, I suppose, is brand bloke. So I'm talking about brands that I may or may not buy, but respect because of how they're constructed or the way that they behave. And you're looking for ones that you're personally involved with, and that's the.
I think it goes through phases. Like you know, well, you know, I recently started skateboarding again after 30 years.
Yeah.
So, I've kind of rediscovered my love of that and whole skateboard culture, and so like Vans. I like Vans stuff. The trainers, but they've got some Vans sort of combat pants on at the minute, like skateboard pants. And
can I ask you, is there a physical brand that you miss? So I actually mean, is there a physical brand or place? Is there a place in Newcastle that, I mean, if I said to you, they're all bloody shut, which they are. Mm-hmm. Is there a place where you miss that's perhaps taking you by surprise? Oh, actually, Mike, I missed that place. Anywhere you miss? A retail outlet?
A retail outlet?
Yeah, I mean a retail or what we might call a third space. So it could be a bar or a coffee shop or a shop. I'm just wondering where you'd feel, I kind of feel nice being here. Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's lots of nice restaurants and cafes and bars that it's a shame that they're shut. And I don't think there's any one particular bar that I miss that much. It's more about what happens in the bars and the people that are there.
What happens? What happens when you're in a bar?
Get pissed.
No one's listening.
You get pissed and talk shite. So I miss that. Definitely, it's more what happens in spaces than. I mean, we start going there quite a bit. I like going to the Gunner Tavern.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I was thinking then, if there's a place where I've enjoyed going most with you, it's probably the Gunner. Maybe echoes of that. I liked Gotham because it was so bad in so many ways. And you're laughing because we've talked about Gotham. fascinating place. But I found it interesting because it was so grubby in so many ways. But you know, I think I worked at number 1 Pink Lane when Gotham Town opened.
Yeah.
Because I was in the attic at the top with One Best Way, and it was fascinating. Because before that, I don't know what, I can't remember, what was it before Gotham? Was it nothing? Was it just offices?
Offices. It's always been Gotham since the dawn of time.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it being Gotham because I'm older than you, but I mean, the business was on Pink Lane, and I loved it being there, and we went there a lot, and then it became horrible, but I still had a lot of affection for it. But I like the openness of, I like what they've done, because they've kept it really simple, it seems to me, and going, and I feel good there.
Yeah, it's good.
Down by Central Station's nice, isn't it? And I miss Laneway. I have a lot of affection for Laneway.
Yeah, I like Laneway.
I like Nick. You know, Nick's a good guy. Laneway's great on Highbridge.
Coffee, always like pink bean coffee when I go in.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I get you.
A lot more. I don't know. In terms of more, I guess, high street stuff, John Lewis. Wouldn't life be lovely if you lived in a John Lewis world all the time? Just, I think as a high street.
Yeah.
Even just walking through John Lewis is a lovely experience.
I suppose you're right. Having a wander around Fenwick's nice, isn't it? That kind of shenanigans.
Do you know what I do quite like? This sounds it. So when you have a loyalty card, John Lewis card, or an app on your phone or whatever, you get a free coffee and a cake every month, right? So you get a voucher.
Who for? Who's this for?
It's free, so you sign up for a John Lewis card.
Oh, John Lewis. Okay, yeah.
But basically, it's just an app, right? But they'll send you. They used to send them through the post, so they would send you like little coupons, right? So you get money off, or like. But every month you would get a little coupon for a free coffee, free hot drink, and a cake, right? But it's all on your app now. So if you go to the cafe in John Lewis, everybody in front of you is just getting a free coffee and cake, right? And they might be paying for a few extra things, but all I ever do is get a free coffee and a scone, right? Because that's classed as a cake, right?
I didn't know about this.
Oh, it's great. So sometimes all you want is just a coffee and a scone, and I just like sitting in the cafe on my own, surrounded by old biddies.
Like me.
Old women just talking about nothing really, but I just quite like that. It's quite comforting, I think, just being there. It's like a nice homely place.
Is this recent? Is this like early this year you would do that? You know, January, February?
The last 2 years or so, probably.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a bit of an escape because, you know, I'm quite, up until recently, I've been quite accessible, and even if I go to a cafe or a bar or whatever, not every time, but quite often I'll see someone that I know, and sometimes they'll want to have a chat or whatever, but I never get interrupted when I go to the John Lewis.
But you will now, of course, because you've ruined it, because I'm going to go. I'm going to be there as and when we open up. But I mean, what a shame, because even they're going to lose bloody, I don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Maybe Ashley will buy it. You never know.
We'll have to go for a coffee and a scone in John Lewis Cafe, and you can experience it. You can see what I mean. Well,
sounds good.
We'll sit on separate tables.
Yeah. Okay. Text each other. It sounds nostalgic. Everything sounds nostalgic at the moment, though, of the ilk of even going to a bloody shop. I was clearing out some stuff on my phone, and I've got videos of me and you chatting away in bars and things, you know, and one of them was at 2:00 in the morning, and goodness, I can't remember it, you know, and I'm thinking, who's that? Oh, it's me. But it's like, goodness, that feels such a strange idea to be with, you know, brushing shoulders with people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And dancing, of course, because maybe I'll, you know, you dancing is on my phone is quite impressive.
I was a dancer to the Venga Boys or something, I think. The Venga Boys.
Possibly. But we were in one night with Flares, wasn't it? Which is ridiculous.
That was a strange night.
That was wrong. Mm-hmm. But shall we conclude?
Yeah, go on.
This conversation, because we've been chatting for an hour, haven't we? An hour and a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
You must have the timer at your end because you must be like Captain Kirk. I don't know what's going on. I can't see anything.
I'm not even looking. There's not really a
All
time.
right.
Yeah.
All right. So to conclude, clearly we've sorted the world out and we've solved everyone's problems, no matter what they are or who they are.
So what's next? That's usually a good thing on the keep going or pivot. It's kind of like keep going or pivot, and like, yeah. Well, we've touched on that. So what's next after this week? After start of week online, what should everyone do? Tell us, Mike. Tell us, Michael. What
should everyone do? I think redouble, or can you say retreble? Just get your ambition massively above what it currently is. Honestly, just massively increase your ambition if you want, But if you don't moan about where you are. But just be, it's not be happy, but just contentment is important. We're so lucky in so many ways. I think coronavirus is the worst thing that's happened to us and the best thing. And I've had some really dark moments in this last 2 months, desperate, tearful, self-doubting, self-destructive, perhaps, drinking too much from time to time. And, my daughter, as you know, is 3, Isabel. And so I like the fact I'm self-aware, because once or twice I've just thought, you're kind of annoying. But she's never annoying. It's me who's being annoyed, but I like the fact that I've been self-aware enough to realize that it was me who was the Burke.
Yeah.
So but to answer your question about what next, I think it's reset your ambition. In a nutshell, I would definitely encourage people to reset their ambition to be much, much higher than perhaps what they're aiming for at the moment, because if you're not going to do it, somebody else will. And that's probably it. Myself personally, because I'm doing a number of things, I've got to execute brilliantly, execute brilliantly, because I'm doing enough. I shouldn't be starting a new thing, really. Although there's a new thing I want to talk to you about, but we'll do that another time. But I've got to be exceptional with the things I'm doing, execute amazingly well. But yeah, to answer your question, I think recalibrate. That's a good word. Recalibrate your ambition up.
Flourish.
Up. What about you? Paul, can you give us a bit of advice? What should the world do next, either collectively or individually?
I have no idea right now. I have no idea.
Should we do? Pardon?
I know what I'm going to do.
What are you going to do?
I definitely need to focus. That's my. I'm easily distracted. I'm like I've always been easily distracted since school. All my school reports has great talent, great potential, but easily distracted. That was still 40 years, 30 odd years later, it's still the same thing. When I'm really into something, I'm single-minded and I'm focused. I will see things through to the end, but once I've got to get really into it. But definitely, I told you, I started this year really focused, really strong.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do. Then I've kind of had my head turned a little bit, lost my focus on something nice, really, really nice distraction. But actually, that's not the right thing to do for various reasons. And I've got my mojo back again. I've got my focus back again.
Compartmentalizing is important, though, isn't it? You can have.
Yeah, but just that kind of took me by surprise, I suppose, and that how something nice came along, and how quickly I kind of lost interest in anything other than that. So I was really focusing all my time and effort on that new thing, and actually, I'm not saying it was the wrong thing to do, but it was the right thing to do at the time. But actually, now, the last 2 weeks in particular, got my focus back. I've got my entrepreneurial mojo back again, doing what I'm doing and what I'm doing. I've just got to be aware of that things might come along like very shiny or
Yeah, it's
along.
fascinating. I mean, I'm just hit. It's just life, you know what I mean? But sometimes you've got to go somewhere to come back, haven't you? Because in the darkest times that I've had, you know, it was a former, you know, probably, well, one of the 2 or 3 best people I've ever worked with in the teams that I've been lucky enough to build, Paul Newcomb, who said to me once, you know, sometimes you've got to go somewhere to come back. And the coming back, you know, and self-awareness, which we've talked about today. Some of the themes that have come out of this for me is self-awareness, ambition, and compartmentalizing your life. Because part of the reason why you were kind enough to mention, you know, with Always Wear Red, its brand position is it's your permission to pause, you know, the slogan for the rest of your life, because the clothing lasts for the rest of your life, and it's for when you're off, just be off. So the subject I'm on there is, I can only do my best work when I'm only thinking about my best work. So I'm picking up on your theme, and I can only be the best dad to Isabel and you to your kids when you're just doing that, I would suggest. And it's the same with any relationships which we're perhaps going to have in you know, now or in the future. Compartmentalizing is important, I think, because I just fanny around with too many different things at the same time. And focus, which is the thing that you're talking about, I think it's hugely important. Yeah, if we want to maximize, how annoying it would be if we got to flipping 80 and thought, I wish you know, saying no more is what I'm hearing from you. Just don't. On my calendar, on the top of Friday, to remind me, I've got the word generosity written in block capitals, because Friday is the day I don't say no to anyone for virtually anything. However, on the other 4 days, what that means is those are the days I do say no, because one day is 20% of my time and yours. And you'll be very careful, because it can just disappear.
Well, it's the other way around for me, you know, like Monday is because I live my weeks now, the same themes as start of week. Monday, inspiration day. So to me, I will be doing some work as well, but the overall theme of that is to do things that inspire me, give me energy. So some of that is I get energy from other people. So I get energy from talking to different people, helping other people, listening to new ways of thinking, reading books, watching films, listening to music, just anything. It's all about soaking up inspiration on Monday for me.
Do you dance?
And hopefully giving inspiration to others. But then the next 4 days is all about getting started.
And do you dance on a Monday?
You know what?
Do you dance? So you're in your flat by yourself playing music. Do you dance? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been dancing quite a bit. Yeah, I was doing some good dancing to Prince the other day.
Wait, which song was it? Remember? Was it When Doves Cry?
It was Kiss.
Was it? So were you? Was it? So it was the Prince version and not the Tom Jones version?
Yeah.
So were you dancing in the lounge area or the kitchen area?
Well, it's all the same place. Yeah. Strutting around a bit.
And have you got mirrors in the bedroom? Do you go into the bedroom and look at yourself in the mirror and dance?
I did a little bit, I think. Yeah, I've been.
Were you dressed or not dressed?
At the time, I was dressed. But,
okay. It's just for the viewers.
The viewers dancing.
That's right. The thing is, if they've stuck with us this long, this is why I've asked you the questions, because if they've stuck with us this long, they've just been rewarded.
Yeah. Well,
with the mental picture that you've just created.
You're not going to get naked again. You've done that before.
That was back in the day.
National TV.
2006, 7.
Yeah, but the whole, you know this anyway, but the different themes, like that startup week system of the 5 days, I've been using that in my work and personal life as well. So for months now, I've been getting to a Friday and thinking, keep going, I'll pivot. Like, do I keep doing this? Or I'll look back at the week and think what worked and what didn't work. And I have used that Friday to make decisions like to get me closer to ending a relationship or persevering with it.
Yeah, you've been through a lot of changes. It's interesting. In the last, how long have you been in your flat? 4 months?
3 months.
3 months. You've got any lemon curd left?
I've still got an unopened jar of lemon curd, but that I still need to write a blog or do something about lemon curd. So that's coming. I might write a poem about lemon curd. I've been writing poetry.
Well, it's just because I mean I was quite rubbish at a housewarming present, so I got you some lemon curd because I thought it was
the most beautiful symbol of friendship.
This is true. Lemon curd. I've never done it before. I've never bought anybody. I've never loved anybody as much as you, because I've never bought them any lemon curd.
Lemon curd love. I'll have to, yeah, there's something.
Well, it'll be forever a thing, won't it? Because you'll think of me when you see lemon curd.
I do. Every time I look at it, I think like I haven't opened it yet because I don't want to spoil it. But it's
Do you stroke it?
No. Lemon curd now, actually. Just put me hand in. Just.
Well, that could be a separate video for an entirely different platform. Is there anything else you would like to bolt onto the end of this because it's your gig? Startup Week online.
Startup Week
online.
Not really. Well, do you want to say like where people can find out more about what you do? I mean, they know where I am, but go on, give us your websites. Give us how can they find.
Well, I've centralized everything around michael.co.uk, spelled MYCHAEL, MY. So that's turned into a jingle. I've got a jingle. So yeah, michael.co.uk is a central. It's where I live now as a in my work. Everything's represented there, and it was a test of whether everything fed into and from each other, and I think that it does. So yeah, michael.co.uk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Cool. Right. Well, you made me want to drink some Brewdog now. I might go and get some Brewdog.
Where's your nearest shop?
In the train station.
Oh yeah, very good. Handy.
It's 9 o'clock.
9 o'clock.
Hear that?
Been going 2 hours, you know. Well, maybe an hour and 3/4. So.
Well, there'll only be me and you here now. Nobody will. This is a marathon kind of chat. Or you'll probably click the button and it will delete or something. I don't know. But I can see the little red recording button. So we have.
Still recording. So some super fans will still be here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity, Paul Lancaster.
Opportunity. It's all right. You're welcome. That was very Geordie.
Was it?
Even though you're not a Geordie.
No, I'm not. I've been here since 1987, so I should be more Geordie in my speech than I currently am, perhaps.
Just that word, opportunity.
Yeah.
It's Victoria Fleming, the sales expert. That's one word she laughs about it when she goes and delivers training in companies. She's had people say to her, "We love you, we love everything about you, but we cannot stand the way you say opportunity."
Does she say it like me?
She's kind of like a posh Geordie, but she's quite well. She's good, well spoken, but when she says opportunity, it's like opportunity. But she says it quite a lot, and some people have said to her, it's like nails down a board. Like if she goes out outside the region, they just cannot stand it.
Paranoid about things like that now.
Actually, I was saying, I'm still recording. People might still be listening. I joined a spoken word poetry.
Oh yes.
Thing last night, and I was mostly just listening to the poetry. It was good. There was a guy in Newcastle who hosted it. There was another lady in Glasgow. They were like co-hosts. They had some people in Scotland, some people in the Northeast. A lady from California, a lady from Toronto. I mean, amazing poetry, all kinds of styles. But I realized when I was listening to it, the northeast accent sounds really good reading out poetry.
I can imagine.
And the Scottish accent, but the northeast
Mm.
accent, it's that storytelling
Mm.
kind of lends itself really nicely to spoken word poetry, which I'd never thought of before.
Was your poem a long poem or a short poem? The one you wrote?
Few short ones.
Pardon?
Few short ones.
Few short ones. Was the one that was like 4 lines, for example?
No.
What's the shortest one?
I think about 10 lines.
Have you got them there? Can we have one, please?
Yeah, I've got 2. I've got
Pardon?
a romantic one and a slightly rude one.
Can we have the romantic one first, please, to warm us up?
Well, I read these out last night and it got a good reaction. I think it got a couple of gasps, like, but then the next one, I think I shocked them.
All right. Well, let's do the romantic one first, please, because we're only just beyond the watershed.
So, well, it depends when this goes out.
Of course.
So, this is only the second time I've read this out. Well, actually, third time I've read it out to someone in private.
Okay.
Is
this okay? Is this okay doing this?
No, I don't know. Yeah, I guess
well,
so.
If you're, I think I would like you to, but we can go off now. Maybe now you see people will want this now.
Right, just keep them hanging.
No, I think you should do it.
They've stuck this long. Let's give them a treat.
Go on then.
Right, okay, so this one is called Blue Star. Okay. Right. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hang on, sorry.
Love it. Blue Star.
Is it that kind of blue star? No?
Well, kind of. Well, you'll decide. I mean, the Blue Star of Newcastle is, yeah.
Well, sorry, Paul, go on.
You ready? Right. Blue Star.
Yeah.
My star shines brightly, but she's always blue. Nothing makes her happy, my words or things I do. I know that she's trouble, because her points burst my bubble. And although I'm close to crying, I'll just keep on trying to make my blue star know that all she has to do is glow. Right. Okay, there you go.
That was very good.
Yeah, I think that's all right. I mean, kind of, probably a bit amateurish, but right, this one.
I thought it was very nice.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Cherry juice. Are you ready for this? This is like something the Prince would write, I think.
Is this written recently?
No, so Blue Star, I wrote it last week.
Yeah, okay. This one.
Cherry juice, I wrote 14 years ago.
I was going to say, does this link back to that? You're quite rude. You did a rude tune, didn't you? Was it a rude tune? A rude song?
Yeah, probably around about that time, yeah.
It's a disgrace. But go on.
Right. Cherry juice. Okay. Cherry juice. You are so...
Look me in the eye. Look at me in the eyes.
Have you got any cherries?
No, I haven't got any juice either.
Right. Oh, God, I can't read it. Okay. Oh, hang on. I must have been feeling horny when I wrote this. But it's rude, but it's sweet. It is sweet at the same time. So it depends how dirty your mind is, right?
Very.
Okay. Cherry juice, you are so sweet. I love your body. I love your feet. Let's cuddle up and get on down. We'll stay at home or hit the town. Soft and juicy, ripe and wet. I'm so happy since we met. Stay with me until the end. Cherry juice, the perfect blend.
That's quite good because, I was thinking, Panda Pops, which is like one of the, I guess it's a very small segment of the soft drink market. They could use that. What's it called?
Let's find a cherry juice company and get them to use that.
Yeah, we could do. I don't know where else we can go now. That's probably it.
We should end it there. And yeah, I've just got some titles at the minute for some other poems.
Go on then.
Sometimes.
Pardon?
Sometimes.
Thumb times.
Sometimes.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was thumb times. I think, okay. Sometimes, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sometimes I want to. That's it. I'm not reading anymore.
Oh, this is an actual poem. It's been written.
No, well, I've written 2 lines, but I'm not reading.
Okay, what does the word rhyme with?
No, I'm not reading them out.
Okay.
So these are just titles, isn't it? Sometimes company, to like company, business, company.
Yeah.
Bridge.
You like that bridge. What's your favourite bridge? Is it not the swing bridge? It's the big tall one, isn't it? The big uppy one.
High level bridge. That's my
high level bridge by the okay.
Very symbolic. So bridge. I'm going to write something about bridge connection, sort of bring people together.
Yeah.
People apart. Tracks, because I'm looking out my flat window at the railway line, but the tracks that are left behind. I'm going to write something about that. And beauty in the broken.
There's a little book there, isn't there? A little book, I think, with your little 10-line poems. Why 10 lines? It just happened that there were 10 lines.
It just seems like the right length. I don't know, like, because I hadn't realised until because I'm just writing them. I'm putting them in Evernote.
Okay.
And yeah, it just so happened I wrote that Blue Star last week, and then when I looked, I was like, actually, about the same length and the same kind of amount of words each line.
I think that poetry reading online is a brilliant thing. Thinking about it, is that what it was? Like a group of people?
Yeah, so there was 22 people on it last night, and I mean some were just reading, not particularly good readers. They were just, but the poems were good. Some it was more performance. There was one guy who he was like his style, his cadence, and the rhythm and the flow was like a rapper.
What does cadence mean?
It's isn't it the kind of like the flow and the rhythm?
I don't know.
Yeah, the kind of like
the dynamics.
Yeah, like if you listen to certain rappers, like someone like Eminem, like the way he says the words, it kind of the rhythm and the flow. But this guy he's a poet, but the way he performs it was like a rapper. There was another guy joined from Hackney, totally mad but genius. The stuff he was doing, it was so.
And was it a Zoom thing?
Yeah, Zoom, but then it was going into whoever was speaking at the time. Yeah, just very free flowing. It was like I say, I'd heard about it. I'd seen it being promoted online. A friend of mine, they normally take part, so they told me about it, and I just thought I'll see what it's all about. And did you know anybody? You don't have to tell me who it was, but do you know anybody else who was there, or was everybody not known to you? I didn't know anyone on it, but there was someone, a friend of mine, who they were going to be there, but then they were ill. So
that's really good.
But they're really into poetry as well. And
yeah.
So no, it's like I say, very inspiring, and people around the world doing it. And I was just going to sit and listen and just bit of entertainment, but then right at the end they were like, "Look, we've got 10 minutes. Does anyone else want to do it?" So I was like,
was your heart going?
Not really. I think just because it'd been over an hour, it was like an hour and a half, and I just thought, well, what the hell? Other people are doing it, and yeah.
I think that's great. I think things like poetry and life drawing is another thing that someone mentioned as a group of people doing online, a big group of people, many thousands actually. Brilliant, because I think it's the kind of thing that people get a bit scared going into a room with strangers and someone's going to look at my work. And, you know, I think that this is, it's kind of weird, of course, because coronavirus is so horrendous, but, you know, there's a number of things which have come out of this which are good, I think. I have a poem. So it's a Spike Milligan one, which you know about, Fred Fernakapan.
Yeah. So
Isabel knows this, and she did mention it in nursery. Do you know there once was a man called Fred Fernakapan who wandered round the town sometimes with his trousers up and sometimes with them down. Do you know that one?
Go on.
No, that was it. That was the whole poem.
Is that it?
Yeah. So did you like it?
I loved it. You need to write one yourself.
Yeah, I probably could have a go, couldn't I? It's really weird. It's quite exposing, isn't it? Poetry.
That's. I mean,
Is that the point? Maybe.
well, that's the point. I mean, the people on last night were really opening themselves right up to. I mean, some of them it was very emotional for them to read out, and it was, well, I guess, quite nice to be out in that space where people were supporting them and encouraging them and stuff. And but yeah, apart from the host, I'll probably never see most of them ever again. You know, I might never see it, but some of us start following each other on Twitter, Instagram. I mean, it was all pretty good, but some of it was amazing. Like,
Really? Okay. Emotional and connected with you, etc.
Emotional, but the stuff I liked, I mean, maybe it's just again the thinking about cherry juice and stuff. Like some of it was quite sexy, like
Quite sexy. Okay,
quite
sexy.
sexual, you know? Like some of the stuff that they were reading was like, wow, that's
Okay.
quite nice.
So, did you have any clothes on when you were watching the poetry?
I did.
Did you?
Anyway,
Just asking.
I'll invite you to the next one.
Okay.
Maybe that's what's next.
Well, I like the idea of, shifting, taking things from one category into another. Maybe poetry in the future could be part of Startup Week.
Well, it's not really a poem, but I don't think you were there. The first day we did Startup Week, it's not even, I don't know what you call it. It's not a poem, it's not prose, it's just like something I wrote about idea butterflies.
Yes, I remember. Go ahead. When was this? First year or?
First year. So I wrote it the night before the final day.
So I have heard you. Where did you recite this? It wasn't like stood on a chair in flares at 2 a.m. It was more formal.
No, but I did read it out on the final day of Startup Week, the first day.
Which first year? Have you read it out since?
No, no, I don't think so.
Interesting, because I think my brain may have heard. I think I might have heard of this, but have you written it down? Have you seen it written down somewhere?
Yeah, I've probably written it down.
Okay, go ahead then. Are you gonna?
Go on, and then we'll end it. Okay.
Yeah, go on then. Butterflies. What's it called?
Idea butterflies.
Okay, how many lines are in this? Is it just so we know what to expect? Is it 10 or is it more?
More. It's not even a poem. It's just like I don't even know what you call it. It's
okay.
Just a short. It's
a thing.
So, it just seemed like a good thing to write the night before I ended, like I kind of closed the first one. So right, so idea butterflies. Ideas are like butterflies. Some will only live for a very short time, while others will last for much longer, depending on the species and the climate they are born into. But for a brief moment in time, these butterflies are full of magic and beauty and potential. Some of you will have ideas that are still at caterpillar stage, needing more nourishment and protection. Others are currently undergoing metamorphosis, emerging from the cocoon of what was to what could be. While some of your ideas are already in glorious full flight, not knowing how long things will last, but just think how beautiful and alive you feel right now. So let's release more idea butterflies. Some will live and some will die, but we won't realize our potential unless we set them free into the world.
I think I've never heard it, but I've heard of it. You've certainly mentioned it to me before.
There you go. So, yeah.
Very nice.
Thank you. I think the sentiment's good. Kind of feel like, need to do something more with stuff like that. But
without a doubt, definitely. It's your creativity, isn't it? As we were saying, I suppose.
Well, that's what I'm just, in the phase I'm at now, trying to be as creative and open myself up to different opportunities and different outlets to get that creativity out. And
on that note, you're going to go to the off license.
Oh, God.
Do you think you will? Bit late?
Yeah, it's a bit late. I don't know.
Cup of tea?
Cup of tea. Do some dishes.
So there's no dishwasher there, is there?
No, there is, but I
There
like
is.
doing the dishes.
Yeah.
That's another thing I like doing. I like listening to music whilst doing the dishes.
Yeah. Have you got some rubber gloves? Do you want some? We should just go, I think, because it's just it's getting weird.
Right, I'm going to stop recording. Okay, thank you, Michael. That was amazing. Okay,
Thank you.
everyone's still here.
Yeah, see you soon.
All right, I'm going to stop recording, and we can still talk a little bit after this. All right.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye bye.